This
our
conference
guests.
will now be recorded.
We appreciate you coming out tonight. And at this time, I think we had Dublin Baptist Church, but I don't see him here. But I'm going to ask Mr. Bullock to stand, if he would, and lead us in prayer. And Mr. Martin, follow with the pledge.
Let us pray. All wonderful and blessing God, we give reference to you. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to come before here, Father, to do the business for the citizens of Bladen County. And Father, we know as long as we depend on you and let you be the guide, not us, everything will be all right. Guide our deeds and our actions and our thoughts through this meeting, Father. Father, we thank you again for all the future blessings that are coming before us and all the past blessings that you have given us. Continue to bless the Bladen County Commissioners as we go about the business of the citizens. All these blessings we ask in thy name, for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we approve the consent items, I'd like to make mention that Cameron McGill is out of the country and excused for the meeting and sends his sincere regrets and looks forward to seeing the board at the next November 21st meeting. He's in Israel, and this was planned prior to us changing the date to tonight. And Dr. Mungoins is excused tonight also. We had something to come up, and so we sorry they're not here, but we understand the situation. And before we go to consent items, I'd also like to read a little something here that should mean something to all of us. Over 20 contestants competed on October 15th for the opportunity to perform at the legendary Apollo Theater. The National Talent Tour, Road to the Apollo in New York, was searching for brilliant, gifted acts while raising funds to benefit North Carolina veterans. For the first time in history, the popular television show was in Bladen County at the community college. In the second round on Sunday, November the 13th, our own Regina McIntyre, custodian supervisor with the General Service Department, won a travel and hotel expense paid trip to New York in the spring of 2023 to compete on the famous Apollo stage. So when you see her, congratulate her, and let's give her a round of applause.
We probably give her a plaque.
Yeah, I think it would.
Well, do you need a motion or anything for that?
I don't think so. I think we should all be appreciative of that and
Well,
very deserving.
plan to wish her well before she leaves.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The, any question about the consent items? Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Bullock. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Individual delegation wish to address the commission, Madam Clerk. Okay, thank you so much. Madam Interest Commissioners. Mr. Bullock?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for all the commissioners to come down for a presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, Commissioner Mungoins and myself, we attended the Lumber River Council of Government, their membership. We was a member there. We attended their annual meeting and the awards banquet. They gave a plaque to Bladen County, and I accepted it on behalf of the commissioners. And this plaque here, we hopefully will be placed on our wall of fame over there. And it reads, the Lumber River Council of Government recognizes Bladen County for their dedication, years of membership, and support of our organization, October the 20th, 2022. And this comes from the Board of Directors and staff of the Lumber River Council of Government. Congratulations to us as well as the citizens for what we do for them, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, sir, Mr. Bullock. And we appreciate y'all too for attending.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Costello.
Well, Mr. Peterson, I know when I went up to the board of directors meeting for the state, and the one that you wanted as a goal to be placed on the agenda, we couldn't get a consensus of 2/3 vote to put the one about the adjustments of the land, that type of thing. But there's an array of different things that's going to be on. I won't begin to tell you, but it's about 13 different goals that they're getting ready to prepare on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to debate, to turn over to the North Carolina State Legislature to be considered for impact for all 100 counties. And once I get that on Friday, and they get that conclusion, I'll bring them back and submit it to the board. So I'll bring that back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Cosdale, and he's our representative from our board here for that meeting. Anyone else?
Mr. Brett, I don't want to say a whole lot about this, but I think that we as a county, we have got to start using the word urgency in the things that we're doing. Where I speak for myself, I'm guilty, because we don't see the urgency of most things until it's too late. We've got to start looking ahead and seeing things as urgency and planning and doing things a little different. That's just my perception, my opinion. I want that word urgency used and spread out throughout this county, because I think it's time, and the life and the times we're living in, I think we really got to look at that word.
Mr. Peterson.
And I'll leave it more to come maybe, but I just wanted to plant that seed around the word urgency tonight.
Mr. Peterson, are you referring to employment basically?
I'm talking about urgency, Mr. Bullock. I'm not prepared to discuss them. I'm just talking about urgency of everything.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Thank you. Our communications. We have Carol Randeman and Joseph Anderson. I'm sure some other guests. I'll let y'all introduce them as appropriate time. You to do so.
Yeah, this is Ms. Donna Bullard. She's our upcoming new CEO at STAR. And you got Lucas McNeil. He's our communications consultant here in Bladen County.
Nice to have all that.
Thank you. Come before you tonight to give you an update. We promised, as one of the things that we would do is we would try to keep you all updated as far as where we stand as far as broadband is concerning Bladen County, and I bring you some good news that things are going well. We're making good progress. I'm going to turn it over to Joe real quick, and he's popped up a map. Can y'all? It's a little over. It's all right. Of Bladen County, and I'm going to let Joe kind of explain where we are. Joe?
We were awarded the North Carolina Great Grant and began construction on it at the beginning of the year in the Bronx Mill Pond area. We concluded that project here recently as far as construction was concerned, and moved our forces over to the White Oak CO area, which is near downtown White Oak, headed back down River Road and out toward Tar Heel. One of the reasons that we had delays from the beginning of the year to the end of the year was supply chains. We feel like supply chains are steadily making a comeback and producing the amount of fiber that we need to be able to continue our projects, which is a light at the end of the tunnel, to say the least. So in that, again, we started at the White Oak CO, moving down River Road, going down to the river to our project, which is New Light, moving on from there, going out to one of our remotes that we actually call River Road, sits in the intersection of Bernie and River, and then turn around, come back to the CO and head out toward Ruskin, which will complete the White Oak portion of that project. Then we'll be jumping over to Abbotsburg, which is this, well, I guess I should be telling you as we move along, this darker area on the map, darker blue. Okay. I tell you what, let me do this for you. I will increase the key, and if you got the map, it'll make more sense to you.
Y'all see, yep, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
So the darker blue area is our great grant. Now, this also shows our past great grant areas, which was around Pusey Store, Moat Road, and Oak Grove Church in Abbotsford. But getting back to what I was saying, construction will then move before the end of the year down to the Abbotsford area, which is right outside of Highway 131 and 410. This will be over Hogwaller, Kelly Road, Highway 242, area we call Lennon's Crossroads, which I'm pretty sure Bladen County does too. We've got our own names for all our remote sites. Could be from one thing to another. But anyway, so this will conclude our great grant project that we have outstanding with the state. At the same time, we also have our Reconnect project going on. Right now, our Reconnect project is still in Sampson County in the Harrells area, but we'll be moving to Bladen County, starting in Kelly, and from Kelly moving to Lisbon. That is that lighter purple area that you see on your map. Any of the blue areas is already construction that we have. Yellow is representative of the RDOF, which is a mixture between some of the other providers in your area, as well as the red areas up in the top left-hand corner. Now, these are outside of our service territory areas, which is the red and the yellow, but everything within that, STAR plans on completing those projects and getting fiber as much as we possibly can to every single customer. One of the things we're going to bring up, and I'm going to let Kyle take over, but I want your attention to focus on this other purple color we have. This color represents our Cypress Creek Exchange and a portion of White Oak that was not covered under our Great Grant area. Charles Allen is one of the areas that we're talking about off of Highway 87. There's a piece of Cape Owen Manor that we have not completed that needs to be completed in that, and pretty much anything in our Cypress Creek Exchange, minus the two blue areas that you see on the map that already have fiber.
As you can see by looking at this map, not too much white area is left on it. Bladen County ought to be proud because there's a lot of counties that have a lot of white that don't have any kind of broadband. So I would have to say y'all are ahead of the curve from a nationwide perspective. So I have a cousin in Cary that doesn't even have it. So that ought to tell you that Bladen County has definitely been an emphasis for STAR and other providers as well. So hats off to them. We put in a Reconnect grant for this, the purple area, and we were not granted that. And so we have filed again. And we have high hopes that we're going to win that area and we're going to get a grant. And it'll be the Reconnect grant. We'll use federal dollars to fiber up all that area and service those customers. So that's our hope.
Is there anything that we can do, or?
Well, what I'm hearing,
A recommendation or anything?
I have a recommendation that y'all have some CABS money that was made available or will be made available. And we're kind of here today on a contingency plan. Say we don't get this next round of Reconnect. Those customers are still going to need to be serviced. So, my proposal is we've done a study on the purple area of your map there, and it would cover 1,579 structures in that purple area that you see there. Total project cost $5,350,000. Using the CABS funding that y'all have available to you, if we would go into a partnership and y'all would commit or earmark some dollars for STAR if needed, the way it would work is the county would match 10%, which would be $535,000. STAR's match would be 15%, which equals $802,500. So what we're in front of you today is to ask y'all if we could have some money earmarked as a means of working together with this CABS money to do the area in the purple on the map.
Bruce.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
So the Reconnect 4, if you get the grant, you don't need to have $1 million.
And that money will go back to the county to be used for other things. So it's not like you're out the money. Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
This is the new president of the North Carolina Association of Commissioners. This is her initiative, broadband. And one of the discussions that we had an intense discussion about was providing the service that you guys are talking about to all the citizens statewide. And they're talking about the great grants and everything. But the thing that came up that was a major concern, and the CEO is here, I'm so glad I see her here, was to keep it where it was the feasibility was there, not to get invested heavily with costs, but people can't afford it.
Mhm.
They was trying to figure out to make sure that we spoke to our representatives
Yes.
to try and deal with feasibility.
Sure.
Because that's one of the key things. Because a lot of the counties that are small like Bladen, I haven't heard that here, and I thank God I haven't heard it, was that they had a lot of underlying written things into the contractual agreements
Sure.
with the broadband.
Sure.
People messing around and exceeding certain limits and would mess around and have a $500 bill
Right.
because they would go over some of the services. After
Sure.
a year, it would terminate.
Sure.
And they were saying for us to talk to our providers, to
I'm glad you-
try and build in that type of feasibility where customers wouldn't come in and be subject to trying to pay for the light bill, to try and keep broadband for the kids in the house.
Understand.
And could you explain that, I know you did in some of our meetings
Yes, sir.
earlier, the different prices
Yes, sir.
based on needs for
Yes, sir.
folks?
We've got two plans that start being a cooperative. We're owned by our members, so the ones that live out in these rural areas, they're our boss. So at the end of the day, they're not going to put up with a lot of fine print, and we appreciate that. So that's not how we operate. We do not have any kind of data caps. They use as much as they want. It's a flat fee. So there's your first thing. So that coming in with a $500 bill doesn't apply to Star Telephone. So yeah, that would not have been good. And I don't agree with that practice. Secondly, we have the ACP plan. Now, what this does is offers I think it's a maximum of $30 to those that qualify. They go into a portal. We built a website that's adjacent to our website that sends the folks to the federal side. They get qualified. That's $30 off a monthly bill. And then there's also another $9.25 on the data side. So for somebody in Bladen County that qualifies, they can get 25 meg down, 5 meg up, normally for $49, which is competitive in any market. But with these two programs, they get it for $10.70 a month and no data caps and no free. I mean, it is what it is. So I hope that did that answer your question?
That was the thing. And
You're referring to people's telephones.
No, they were referring to broadband. And
Yeah.
that
Some providers do charge data rates.
Right,
Yes, sir.
but if your individual phone, it can get you that way as well, not just with them.
We sell now internet as a standalone service.
Okay.
Does that
You have to
help?
differentiate the two.
There was some kind of way that a lot of the guys in the rural
Telephones.
counties was complaining that their customers was coming in with bills that after a period of time, they signed some type of contract agreement, they would adjust. And they wouldn't know they was adjusting, then they were stuck with a big bill trying to figure out the big bill.
We can't operate like that. Some of the bigger companies can maybe, but, no, we don't do that.
What is their timeline on knowing if you're gonna get the reconnect board?
I've got it written here. We did some research on that and the timelines that we think. Now, these are estimated. So, again, we're thinking the Reconnect Award potentially late summer 2023.
When is the timeline you're going to be enabled for?
For the project that's already funded.
Yeah.
Project's already funded before the end of the year, you will see a plow on Hattiesburg.
Mr. Brett and Mr. Martin, we already got this money designated for that, don't we? We don't need a vote or anything, do we? So it's already designated for you to do that.
Okay. So y'all are okay with us working with y'all toward this project?
And we have until December of '24 to determine.
We want you to fight hard
Yes, sir.
That's why I said, is there anything we can do to help you get it? 'Cause we do have some other needs that we could sure use that money for the citizens of the county, but we know this is a priority.
Yes, sir.
We want to do it. But that's why I emphasize,
Yes,
if
sir.
there's anything that we can do,
We
all
may-
I've been hearing is positive,
Good.
and it starts at my home and everybody on my street. Everybody is, and I think everybody on my area going up to make it justifiable, and I thank them for that. And pressure off my back.
One thing, Mr. Rip, on this NCDIT thing, where it says some people who may get the discount, is it one, or you got to have all of them, or like one of them says, free or reduced lunches? Everybody in Bladen County receives free and reduced
And
lunches.
they qualify for that $30 ACP.
So you have to have children in school to qualify?
No, you can also, there's a section, there's like 6 or 7 different qualifying agents that if you've got somebody with the free lunch program or housing, I mean, there's 4 or 5 different items that you can qualify for that $30 discount.
Does that qualify, cause I had a guy talk to me about a long time about, his medicine, everything costs so much, but his income's a little bit above assistant with DSS, and so does he apply if he's in Bladen County and he has?
I would highly suggest him call us, have him apply. We'll help him put his information into the portal.
I
And
don't know
then,
if he has internet, he was talking about.
I don't know if I can help him with his medicine, but I can definitely help him with his internet. So,
Appreciate it.
The question was, we was talking at one time about, and one gentleman came in with some proposal with the spectrum, and we was looking at the totality of what's gonna be covered.
Yes.
Will STAR be able to completely cover all of these areas that's in the rural area of the county?
The rural areas, that's what this map is all about. It's covering the rural areas of Bladen County.
So we should have connectivity of like 100% of the rural area.
The rural area, yes, sir.
It's in our territory.
Anything within Star Telephone's territory that's in the rural areas will be covered.
We're looking like Allen and Kelly and all this stuff. It should
Actually, Ammons is in the dead heart of this, map that we're talking about.
I just want to make sure all of this, where every kid and everybody can have access to internet service in River.
And guys, when y'all go home this evening or in your car before you throw this thing in the trash, and you see these few small white pockets, it's kind of strain your brain a little bit. We didn't fill in all the gaps of some of the dead territories that's out there up above, Jones Lake, Salters Lake.
There's no house.
There's nothing there for me to really say, hey, we're gonna put I didn't want to look like we're trying to cover more than what, there's nobody there. So, when you're sitting there, I don't want you to feel like, hey, well, what about this part? I didn't ask him about that part.
That was the reason I asked the question.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
just,
sir.
when I go out reward Jones Lake with internet service, it would drop.
Yeah.
Some of them rural areas do just go out.
Right.
And I was trying to figure out how are we gonna provide service with it.
Well, that's why we're trying to get this new fiber optic in the ground out there as quickly and as hastily as possible, hopefully using federal dollars. So I may take y'all up on, if there's anything that,
We can write it, dear John, by that later.
Say no, I don't want money now.
We're a rural, poor county, and we need all the help we can get.
we will definitely do everything in our power to make sure we get that service.
I just got one question. Once a citizen get these adjustments where their monthly rate is lowered,
Yes, sir.
what are some of the termination factors? They can no longer get it.
Termination factors. Well, that's a great question. And I would think that their termination factor would be if, say they had a $10 a month bill and they went 6 months and didn't pay. That would be something that would probably qualify. I mean, I'm just being honest. That would be a qualifying exemption from the support. I don't know. Once you're kind of enrolled, I'm assuming that there's probably from the federal or the state government side, there would probably be something that would check to make sure you still have a student that was enrolled
12 months.
to get 12 months. And so your student was still enrolled and you don't keep getting the benefit once the student is graduated and move on. There's things of that nature that's probably out there.
Just also in response to that, I was just reading today, if I understood correctly, $14 billion has been appropriated for that. So at some point, I'm sure the money at the federal government is gonna be a limiting factor. So-
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Good question.
We thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all for your time. We appreciate it.
Did you have something, ma'am, you want to add to your gentleman?
Thank y'all again.
Thank you, appreciate all of it.
Yes, sir.
Joe French is over, give his contact information.
Larry Hammond, Veteran Service. As Mr. Hammond comes up, I'd like for us to all, recognize the fact and thank Mr. Larry and thank, Mr. Kip and all for the, Operation Greenlight. We want to thank the county employees for that. It's a fantastic job for the courthouse. Looked great, and please let guys know we appreciate what they've done and the extra effort they made.
We're all over, everybody, Dollar Tree, buying stuff. It was.
Go ahead, Mr. Hammond.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
members of the board, this is not gonna cost you a penny.
All right.
I'm not asking for anything. I want to give you, it's been a while since I've been here, and I just wanted to give you some idea of what we're doing over in that little section of the health department that I reside in now. I work there 3 days a week on a part-time basis, but it is wide open. And certain things are causing it. I just want to tell you a little bit about where we are and what happens here. I went to a conference in Concord about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We got some statistics from the state about what we do. We're obviously under the purview of the North Carolina Division of Military and Veterans Affairs, and I also am certified by that organization and the American Legion. So that's who that we operate for. American Legion is the largest veteran service organization in the world. So we have a good outreach there. We've come a long way since 1993 when I started this. For those of you who don't know, I retired from the U.S. Coast Guard. I was a lieutenant commander, and I came on board doing this July the 1st, 1993, and I've been doing it ever since. This coming June the 30th will be my 30th year of working with veterans. And let me tell you, it is not a job. It's a calling. It's something I'm incredibly passionate about, being sure that our veterans are taken care of. The state of North Carolina has done the same thing. We started with a department, and we are now part of the cabinet. We have a cabinet level person driving NCD and VA. That's big. We've upgraded and we use certain technologies that weren't there before. When I first started, it was a pencil, a pen, paper. We filled it out. We've either mailed it in or faxed it in. Fax came later, but we started by mailing it in. And it would take anywhere from 9 months, year and a half, sometimes 2-3 years to get a claim, what we call prosecuted through the VA. I'll give you an example of where we are today. I have a scanner. Mr. Robin Hewitt helps me keep that stuff up to speed. I have a scanner. We scan information in, drop it to a secure program in the VA, which I have access to because I've been through 2 full security clearances in order to work there with a little card that I plug in, and that allows me to access the VA. The system that I'm accessing has algorithms in it. An example would be if we have a service-connected death and the widow comes in and files a claim. It used to be 3, 4, 5 months that we had a decision. Now it's 3, 4, 5 days. From the time I drop it in, it strips out the information necessary, and if I've done everything correctly, we'll have those claims prosecuted now. I've had 3 of them in the past couple of weeks, 2 5 days and 1 3 day. That's huge because those widows now have lost a portion of their income through Social Security usually, or through working that their spouses had, and we're replacing a lot of that income now with federal dollars, federal tax-free dollars. I wanted to tell you a little bit about that too. That little office that we run over there on part-time, we bring into this county probably somewhere in the vicinity of about $30 million a year. Tax-free federal dollars flow because of that to our veterans from the federal government.
4 million when you start.
3.5.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
You are right. No, that's good. I like this figure. I'm proud of that. We do a lot of work and we got a lot of things happening. We change lives is what we're doing over there. We're changing lives, and that's a good thing. The state gave us a statistic that says every service officer in the state of North Carolina represents to a county $50 million. The figures I gave you were raw dollars, doesn't count dollars that are spent on health care for our veterans, education benefits for the spouses and the children, pension benefits for low-income widows. Those things, when you add it up, the state says each service officer in the state represents $50 million annually to a county. Mecklenburg's got about 17 to 20 of them, so do the math. That's a lot of money. We have one. The state recognizes that, and they give us, $2,000 a year as a grant to help run our office. There's rumors that that number is going to go incredibly higher so that we might hire another service officer in each county. So we'll wait to see how that goes. That's exciting news if they do that, because we can use them, and I'll tell you why in just a few minutes. Other initiatives that are out there is a new state cemetery is in the dialogue process right now. I became aware of that, and I'm very interested in that, to see if Bladen County might be one of those places that might house that. It would require 30 to 40 acres of property and will produce 8 full-time state jobs in order to run it. And it'll be a first-class operation, like the one in Spring Lake, the one in Jacksonville, Goldsboro, over in Black Mountain, I think is where the other one is. I'm interested in that, and I'll give you more on that as it comes about. I really would like to see it in this county. I've already made a couple of telephone calls on it to toss our name in the hat for that particular initiative. It would bring a lot of folks in to visit, of course, their loved ones. That would give us the opportunity to do other things with restaurants and stuff like that when they visit and all that. So it can be an economic generator of some sort. Anyway, that's in the offing. Some big things that have happened to us lately, and we've been working on, when I say we, those of us who do this for a living, for the past few years, I've been working on some things. We'll make telephone calls to our congressman. We'll make telephone calls to the Veterans Administration. Of course, I do not work for the Veterans Administration. I work for the North Carolina Division of Military Veterans Affairs. We're an advocacy group for veterans that we interact with the VA. For years, we've been working claims for Vietnam veterans, World War II veterans, Korea, and now the veterans of the Gulf Wars. So we started working on all of those things. We've been working Vietnam for a long, long time. A couple of issues that were out there, and one in particular for veterans was the high incidence of hypertension for veterans who served after their exposure to tactical herbicides in Vietnam. A lot of us saw that before the National Institutes of Health did, and we started making rumblings on it. But because of the sheer number of people that would affect, dollars-wise, it was kind of held down. But now, with the passing of the PACT Act, I'm sure you've all heard of that. If you haven't heard of the PACT Act, you've heard of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act. How many of you received phone calls if you served in Jacksonville or Camp Lejeune for a certain time? I get those all the time, and I have not. But anyway, that's part of the PACT Act. The PACT Act encompasses that. encompasses new conceded conditions from exposure to tactical herbicides and exposure to the burn pits in the Gulf Wars. So the PACT Act, of course, was an act that was named after Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson, who was an Ohio National Guard member who died in 2020 from exposure to the burn pits. They were burning everything in those burn pits. Fine particulate matter coming out of the desert, or whatever was in there is in the air, and everybody was exposed. And that caused a lot of conditions that NIH looked at and said, we got an issue. Congress worked on it, and August the 2nd of 2022, this year, just a few months ago, it was passed. And we're now receiving applications for exposure to fine particulate matters from burn pits in the Gulf War, and we're working those. We're working them now, anticipating in January awards will start being made. Awards are made, that means that dollar figure I gave you is going to go up. But it also means that the amount of work that we have to do to prosecute those claims also go up. And we have to be careful with what we're doing with them, not to miss deadlines. That's my job. I've never missed a deadline, 30 years, and I don't intend to now. But anyway, a lot of things have been added. I gave you a quick flyer on the PACT Act, on those presumptive conditions and all. You have it. It was when it was passed and what it's all about. I won't bore you with a lot of the different things. Just understand that we have certain issues that we're dealing with, and a lot of them are kind of morbid when you start dealing with medical conditions with veterans and stuff like that. The high blood pressure, of course, was one that was added for the Vietnam veterans, as was, we call it MGUS, which is the monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, MGUS. That's what we call it, and we're already receiving those. Along with that also is called the Blue Water Navy. I don't know if you've ever heard of that issue. For years and years, people that were in the Navy sitting within the 12-mile territorial limit of coast of Vietnam put in for certain benefits based upon exposure to tactical herbicides and were summarily denied. The VA said, you weren't boots down in Vietnam. That was the phrase that they used. You got to be boots down. But we said that's wrong because the air blows and it blows that stuff out to sea and exposes those people out on those ships. Congress finally agreed with that, and they passed the Blue Water Navy Act, which allows us to look at different things for those folks as well. Well, we started looking at all that, and then we started looking at what about those people in Thailand, at the Royal Thai Air Bases in Thailand, Cambodia, and those places. And they said, you know, this stuff was being flown out of there in country, and they were dropping it. And obviously that they used it in the perimeter of those bases to keep the foliage down. So those people were exposed as well. They recently passed that and included a lot of those different, Laos was one of a lot of those countries, and we're starting to see now the influx of claims on all of that as well. Anyway, I just wanted to bring some of that stuff to you, let you know that things have exponentially gotten a lot more busy over in my office. I really like it.
I'd like to share something with y'all in front of Mr. Hammond. I can't tell you, and I've not shared this with him, and I share it with him tonight in front of all y'all. One of the benefits of being downtown and people coming in the store, and you know, maybe how difficult times they've had, and they were a veteran, maybe just pulled 2 years in Vietnam or what have you. And they pointed out the fact that life was a little better for him now, and how he grew some of these dollars was on his own, calling people, and I thank you for that. I think you may be entitled to this. I think you might want to come in and look at this. And that's going beyond the call of duty when you do what you do. They come to you, but you're calling them and helping them get more money to have a better life, and I commend you for that.
And I thank you for that.
Yes, sir. And, I know he didn't want to go off too egotistical, but you know, each branch of service has a service person as a marching delegate, the inaugural parades. There's many people in the Coast Guard. You're looking at the marching delegate for Coast Guard for a number of years while he was in the Coast Guard, representing all of Coast Guard, not community. But I thank you. Appreciate you for what you do for the county and the citizens.
I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have about what I do. Thank you. Let me tell you my service time. I hear people all the time say, thank you for your service. And I appreciate that. But I tell them too, it was my pleasure serving this nation, and I truly mean that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Give us a hand around the applause. General Service Department, Mr. Kip McClary.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. You have before you, I think, the information regarding a roof installation contract for the Board of Election building.
Motion, Mr. Gillespie, got a second from Mr. Hester. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Any questions?
Where is this business located?
They're out of Leland.
Leland?
Yeah, towards Wilmington. They've done 2 other roofs for us recently. They did the DSS roof, and they also just recently completed the library roof.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
I want to ask one question, Mr. Clear, while you're here. I had an incident that happened. I got with county manager Martin, and since then I've had a couple other people have called me about the same concern. Is it any way that whenever you have an incident with direction flow in the water, is that something you guys can detect right away and notify people that may be affected, or is it something you have to wait until you actually get something that tells that it's happened? How do you?
It's hard to predict. I can share that. Mr. Allen can speak to this. In fact, if you'll come on up, Allen.
Let me finish this. We had a motion on that in a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. We got that.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Sir.
On the water, we work hard to try and eliminate that as much as possible, but it's not always something we can predict happening before it starts to show up in the customer's house.
The only reason they called me and I was just having a conversation with someone from you, and I called Mr. Martin about the things that happened in my house. My wife was all irate about it, but the stuff that you gave me, it worked pretty good. Not completely, but pretty good. The iron out. And then I had some other people that called me and said they had the same effect. And I'm trying to figure out when something like that happens, like when that wheel shifted, something had to shift. What should it shift?
What you get is, and I think we've talked about this many times in the past, is a residue starts to build up in our piping system. And it has to do with the reaction of the chlorine to the minerals that's in the water. When we add chlorine to the minerals that come up out of the ground in that water, it begins a reaction, oxidation. Chlorine triggers oxidation. And it starts to create that particulate that falls into the bottom of the pipe and settles. Typically, we're pumping from one direction to another consistently. But if something changes in the operation of the system, and he had I think it was a timer went out at White's Crossing, he can start pumping water from a different area to subsidize that need in that area. Well, we didn't know it was starting to be a problem until we started getting complaints about the brown water. When it shifts, that sediment starts to rise. And that's what you're getting in the water is this residue from the minerals that is settled into the bottom of the pipes. We work to try to keep it flushed out as much as we can, but it's sometimes impossible because it's a buildup, and it exists. And we've had some neighborhoods that when it really gets stirred up after a firefighting event or something where a lot of water's been used, it can last for days and sometimes into weeks before we get it cleared out of the system again, or it settles back down into the system.
Question is this periodically will happen. You have to live through it when it happens.
And we try to do flushing as much as we can to prevent it. That's why we buy the automatic flushers to keep certain neighborhoods flushed off because of dead-end water lines. But when we change directions of the flow of that water, if it's going east to west and all of a sudden it has to start going west to east, then it can cause those problems to exist.
And I promise,
I didn't know.
Mr. Allen finds out about it, he takes care of it.
I didn't know whether it was enough of it occurring that something needed to be put on maybe to say that this would happen periodically.
And when we are aware of it, we will send out a reverse 911 code red call and notify people in the area we've had a disturbance in the system. Please refrain from using water for washing clothes or let your water settle before you try to use it for cooking or drinking. And many times if you'll run it, for example, if you'll run it in a glass pitcher overnight, it'll settle right back down. And it's not harmful because it's the minerals that exist in the ground.
Mess up some white clothes.
It can damage the water.
Got a motion going to water board? Got a second from Mr. West? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
I think you have, before you, some information regarding our current situation with water taps. Presently, in Bladen County, we charge $450 for a 3/4 inch tap for a customer, $500 for a 1 inch tap, and $900 for a 2 inch tap. I want to go on record, as before we get started here, most of the time a 2 inch tap is only needed for a commercial type business. We don't recommend those for residential at all. So most people can get by with a 3/4 inch or a 1 inch water tap. A 3/4 inch meter will flow 25 gallons a minute, a 1 inch meter can flow 40 gallons a minute. So most people can get by with a 3/4 or 1 inch. However, the situation has, due to supply chain issues and cost of materials increasing constantly, we are now taking a loss every time we do a tap for a citizen. Current prices, if you're on a 6 inch line and you require a 3/4 inch tap, we're spending $640. We're charging you $450 for that tap. If it's on an 8 inch line, it's $652 for those materials. We're charging you $450. If it's a 1 inch, you're paying $500 for the tap. We're paying $908 for the materials if it's on a 6 inch main, and $934 if it's on a 1 inch main, 8 inch main. The situation we see going forward, though, is part of why we've recommended the information regarding the increase in the tap fees. We see, and Alan has been talking with the suppliers, another increase coming. They are predicting that by year end, we will be at $715 if it's on a 6 inch line and $750 if it's on an 8 inch line. For a 3/4, $1,040 if it's a 1 inch tap on a 6, and $1,075 if it's a 1 inch tap on an 8 inch. What we asked staff to do was survey the existing towns in Bladen and then survey the counties that abut us, and let's look at what they're currently doing.
Those figures you quoted prior to labor too, correct?
Yes, sir. They do not include labor. They're cost of materials only, which is the meter, the box, fittings, the pipe, the saddles to hook it up with. That does not include our crew cost or our expenses on the vehicles and equipment to get out there and do the work.
This is only from the supply line to the meter, right?
The supply main to the meter. Yes, sir. So we have made a suggestion for a tap fee increase to cover our cost, to be prepared for the upcoming changes. And if things continue to increase another 30% by this time next year, what we're requesting may have to be adjusted again.
What I'm seeing on this list then, there's a bunch of areas that evidently don't realize they lose their money.
And they could very well be.
Could have to be based on that.
Yes, sir.
Compared to what they're charging.
Yes, sir.
You're supposed to 1,000
Yes, sir.
in the 1,400.
1,400, yes, sir. And if you are a commercial business and needing a 2 inch tap, that would go from $3,400 to $4,800.
Is this, no, it went back a long time. Is this still built in where if a person wants to tap in, it can be prorated into their water bill?
We have that in the policy. There is a pro rata that was approved by the commissioners under the policy. So yes,
So you can just, you would go back and readjust that rate, like if a person wanting to pay so much down and then so much per month, is that what we're talking about?
that can be in there too, yes, sir.
Trying to figure out if it's easy for somebody that was pay $1,000.
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
I was just gonna say, one of the driving factors in this, as you all will recall, is we've just recently transitioned to the electronic meters, and they cost significantly more.
So where's the cost savings on the meters? Why don't we take that cost savings on those meters and not ask the citizens to pay so much?
Well, it was on the efficiency, it created an efficiency and a major safety.
There's a continued cost savings, aren't there?
Yeah, and that's why we didn't budget, remember, several years ago, we didn't fill
We're just already been offset when we.
Kip, if they decide to do the pro rata, they start it without money down, in other words, or
No,
is that?
sir, it does require a deposit down. Don't know what that is tonight, but I can bring you that information. But it does require a deposit down, and then they have to add so much per month to their regular bill
I
to
got
pay
you.
it back.
But I mean, that's a nice, at least that's a nice option that the county, offers anyway. That's pretty. I mean,
That's a 20% increase.
Yes, sir.
Understand that we were the lowest at the time, so we were probably too low all along.
So you're saying you can't, this needs to happen at one time, you can't phase this in over a period of a year?
Well, you are the water board. Our job is to bring this information to you. You tell us how you want us to implement it, but.
Well, I think one thing that we have to look at, and this is information that everybody here doesn't know, that we just had in discussion with, with some of our wells and this, that, and the other quotes we were getting to run pipes per mile and this, that, and the other.
Things have increased astronomically.
That was unreal, what we heard now.
Cost of construction on 1 mile of water main has gone up 400%.
What's the labor put on 3/4 inch tap in?
Depends on how far they have to go. Alan will have a crew of how many out there? 4 or 5. And
Still losing money at this.
if you're working in traffic, you've got to control the traffic.
I think deposit take to the citizen, even $1,000, we're still contributing to that. Bad as it may sound, I mean, we are contributing because we're not able to do it for the $1,000. When you carry the labor. Yes, sir.
What is your proposed effective date?
Whenever you're ready to make that decision. Okay. We're taking a loss every time we do a tap right now.
Thank you, Mr. Peters.
I ain't wanting to, but I can get around it.
Well, I agree. I agree.
Don? Any further discussion?
Yeah, I got one thing. If we had to look at this, Kip, from the amount of taps that's added in, what I don't want to do is deter people from tapping. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How many taps do we usually do in a run a year?
We have done 59 taps since July 1 of this year. We have had 59 come in and pay for taps and put those on the books. Your current active accounts in the county right now is 6,837 accounts. That's how many we're billing for water every month. So it's been increasing 10 to 15 taps a month for the last longest.
Well, Master, do you get what kind of feedback do you get back when you tell people what the tap costs now?
Nobody likes to pay the fees, but they're usually fairly agreeable. It's a lot cheaper here than it is over in Brunswick County and Pender County and some of these others we've surveyed. If you go in Brunswick, you're going to be paying over $3,000 for a tap. So people that live in that area understand that's built into the cost of construction.
This town, 1,400.
I know we've
That's why we did use a comparison. Columbus County right now is gonna charge you $1,200, and they have had a step increase, in their last information, they've already gone up 30% on their taps.
The only reason I was asking the question, Mr. Peterson made the motion the second time, that's in place, but I was just looking at if we could, the question I was asking about how to tell about it, if we had some kind of a rate to show what we was gonna do as to how the down payment was and a little bit more time to digest the 120% increase. As that tell the citizen when they see this, how you gonna pay for it? If you're gonna be $250 down or $100 down, pay so much per month, instead of just throwing this $1,000 at people.
Well, Mr. Carter,
He already answered that.
he done, when they come there to get the tap, he'll share that with them.
And we,
No,
but you did set that up in the policy, and it is in the policy to give them.
there's a certain percentage that you must pay.
Yes, sir.
I just wanna know what it is. I just
That
know
was at 450, 500, so.
I didn't know what the percentage was. That's already built in. I guess there's no way of getting around it, but I was trying to figure out what would they pay this person you tell what's gonna pay to get a tap to get water.
So I say, it's tough, I don't like it either, and I run a business, and I tell you what, that percentage increase some of my stuff, it's cost us,
Oh, it's time to
this
get
is low
more, yeah.
compared to some of it. So, none of us like it, and especially our citizens. I've said it for the last year. You know what, there's gonna be a burst somewhere. I think it's
They
coming.
already did that anyway.
No further discussion, we'll take a vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you,
The
sir.
motion come out of the motion. Got a motion by Mr. Peterson, a second by Mr. Hester. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got advisory board appointments for November 21st. They want to look at those. And, advisory board appointments for December 19th. We got those listed as well. This time, Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to begin by reviewing the calendar with you for the remainder of November and December. And just, point out tomorrow evening at 7 p.m., the Bladen County Parks and Recreation Board will have a public hearing, a public meeting regarding a Parks and Recreation Trust Fund application. Also on Friday at 8 a.m., the Farm City Week Banquet will be held at the Cal Melvin Center. On Saturday, the 19th at 12 noon, there's a prayer service here. Board meets next Monday evening at 6:30. County offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday, the 24th and 25th, in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. On Saturday, the 26th at 5:45 p.m., the Town of Dublin Christmas tree lighting will take place at the Town Hall. On Sunday, the 27th at 4 p.m., the Elizabethtown Christmas Parade held here in Elizabethtown. Tuesday, the 29th at 12 noon, the Development Commission meets at the airport. Also that evening at 6 p.m., DEQ is having a community information meeting in Regalwood. Bring to your attention.
That's one, that's a question.
Yeah.
On the meetings, are we still eligible? I know with the board meeting here, we have to be present to do voting. Can we still use the virtual concept with departmental meetings?
I think we can now since
I just want to know, can we
the state
still
of
use
emergency
that
is over,
concept?
Cam.
There's no,
What's the mean departmental?
yes, what about that?
Just like with the Economic Development Board, can you still acquire these meetings through virtual meetings? Do you have to be present?
I think that's done.
It's over.
On that board, that's just an
That's the advisory board. I'm asking these, is this not a board? Which boards are, I'm asking, can you find out which boards, if any, is available that you can do that? That's what I'm asking.
I will. I don't know if that's something that the
All meetings. That's the only time that's ever been available was during the state of emergency. It's been relieved.
Mr. Keys, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I said, you wouldn't let him just get back with me on that, so I
You mean
know.
to tap into it virtually, you mean?
Yeah, just
to sit back and watch it,
just-
you mean?
Yeah, to go into a meeting, be a part of the meeting.
Good part of me.
And be in attendance if you there, you know, most of the times I have to vote on things anyway, but just be in attendance. I just want to know, can you still do that?
Mr. Martin, I think this town got their Christmas tree lighting the 27th or I don't know what day it is.
Elizabeth Town or Bladen?
Listen time.
Okay, I was gonna ask you about Bladensboro.
Blameur's got their Christmas tree lighting December the 2nd. We got the Blameur Parade December the 3rd. And I don't know, like I say, this time, I think it's the night of the parade or somewhere near this kind of Christmas parade, Christmas tree lighting.
Is that the one, will that be the one here on Courthouse Lawn?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know.
we'll find out.
It's right there. I think it's that night. I'm not absolutely sure on that.
Is it the same way they're gonna put the lights up, the Christmas tree up? Remember the lady came and put the Christmas tree up last time? The lady who put the Christmas tree up, remember we had the lady come in and walk?
This town does,
Public Works Department does one on the lawn, doesn't it?
yes,
You're talking about Christmas trees.
Where'd it go out here?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Out front, okay.
Up front. Same individual.
that's this town,
Yeah, I
that's the
think
one
down
that,
Blue Mountain.
the ladies.
I thought she came and asked us about getting permission to put it. I thought she was doing it for the county. That this time, the county.
She come to ask us to help her get one.
In a fundraiser with it.
Finance,
right.
Finance. Raise money.
And then this town put it on the plane, but I think the ladies that sell those, mums and stuff, I think they're in charge of the tree
The
lights,
garden,
wherever it is.
garden committee.
I'm not,
Garden club.
yeah, Foxtrot. Yeah. Could be wrong, I don't know.
Okay, I was just asking,
Yeah.
the same way they're gonna be doing it, 'cause that's a big privilege for them right there.
What'd you say, let's tell them, fill out for?
Yeah. Not a parade.
It's not the parade.
I'm not-
Think it's not.
I'm not sure.
Same night the parade?
You
I'm
think?
not sure.
He's not sure.
Yeah, it's right there though, one and not, I don't know which
And
one.
we'll find out for sure.
Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
All right, thank you. Also in December, on the 5th, there's a prayer service here at 8 a.m. The board meets that evening at 6:30. On Monday the 12th at 5 p.m., the Health Services Advisory Committee meets. On Tuesday the 13th at 5 p.m., Santa's 4-H workshop, at the Pal Melvin Center. On Saturday the 17th at 12 noon, there's a community prayer service here. The board meets the evening at 6:30. County offices will be closed on the 23rd, 26th, and 27th in observance of the Christmas holiday.
Mr. Mark, when is that breakfast at the, Ag Center?
This Friday at 8 a.m. I said it out loud, I didn't say it, I stated it earlier, but it was not on, it's not been. And I think there is a reservation requirement on that, so.
Yeah.
Alrighty, if there are no questions, calendar moving to item B. I think we've already talked about that in sufficient detail. I just wanted to, as Mr. Cogdell mentioned, the Association of County Commissioners this year is making broadband a real priority. So they asked counties to be sure that we're sharing information locally about the affordable activity program. So I think that's been discussed in good detail. So no one can be questions about that. And then the last thing, and this has been briefly mentioned too, but as Mr. Cogdell indicated, the Legislative Goals Conference will be held later this week. That's voting delegate. But from the information I had, and Mr. Cogdell, I haven't had a chance to talk about this, but the information we received from the association shows that for the Tax and Finance Committee, one of the approved proposals, Tax and Finance 1, was to seek legislation that preserves existing local revenue by providing just compensation to counties for property acquired by the state and removed from the applicable tax base. And I think that's the one, if that's not exactly the one we submitted, it's right there all over it. So it did make it for the proposal for you all to vote on.
Amazing. Thank you. When you got to do them is, they were reluctant with the 230. That one did go in, but the way they did it, it was a whole lot of amendments that they done to it. That the attorneys were talking about doing to it to readjust. That deal with it.
You need
So
to
I
vote.
just want to share that with you.
You need to vote on B, don't you? Or you just got a note, you got the stars there for notation, or just, you need to vote?
On B.
Yeah.
Update regarding affordable connectivity program.
Opioid settlement funds.
Oh, I don't even have that. That may have been the draft. We don't have that.
Okay.
All
right.
So, Mr. Martin,
Yes, sir.
next year when we talk about goals, can we put a goal in there that, somehow or another that all counties are represented, all counties can get some help versus, I mean, like, we've been trying this for a long time and it's really, crippling us where it ain't, probably ain't crippling 75, 80% of the other counties. Is there any way we could put a goal in there that we need to share the pie around these goals or
Talking about
something?
land mass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a thought. I don't know how you
Yeah,
word it. I'm just
In
saying.
reference to the
We
same.
never got nothing. We never got a goal.
Yeah, the closest we got was they established that committee like we talked about, but the.
Well, that's what I'm
legislature
saying, but I mean, if there was
never-
some way that they would, maybe they could weight it different or something. Well, all I'm saying, I don't know.
But what has happened on that, Mr. Peterson?
I'm asking for a change. I'm not asking how it's
Land
done.
mass we have that we use for the state.
But
Talking about land mass.
Like the state forest and stuff, all that
Right, that's
stuff, we
what
don't
I'm
get a penny out
That's
of it.
mitigated.
But Miss Stephen, how that works is, if you want to get on that, no, you have to go to the steering committee and be a part of that steering committee to help design it, because they go into their own conference, the steering committees. And though that group works as a separate entity, that steering committee, once they get that goal lined up to what you want, then they'll present it to the full board.
I'm just, I know how it's done. I'm just saying if there was some way that we could get a legislative goal in there so it could be weighted differently, so ours might have a little more weight, that's all I'm saying. I know how it's done.
Actually,
I'm talking about in the future. Because we ain't never got a goal. Okay, I'm through. No, there goes what I'm saying.
And we can work on it, Will, it's done.
Let me mention Mike,
Steering committee.
Mike, Mr. Bullock also, when you're meetings in Raleigh and what have you, need to take time to emphasize how we have been steered wrong at the meetings that I've been at when the governor, whoever spoke on behalf of the governor about the broadband. You know, we sit here and hear these gentlemen and they're doing what they can. But when it's presented to us in Raleigh, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, all homes will have access to broadband.
That was the reason I asked
Well,
them.
we're in a rural county and with a lot of rural roads, and guess what they will tell you? It's not feasible to run it down the real road, so that is not true. But the next round of money, and maybe just, we've been hearing about the second pot and the third pot, we need a pot that's gonna take care, we've probably got as many kids on rural roads, and I'm just thinking out loud, riding in the country and seeing the dirt roads that we still have in rural roads. A lot of our students are on rural roads, and they're not gonna have access to broadband.
Ain't no five out.
And so that's a misleading fact that needs to be emphasized. And, cause they sit right there and tell you, they can't justify the expense of running that cable down those rural roads. And, that's not what we've been told, am I correct? That's not come up in the conversation when we're in Raleigh.
That was the reason I asked him that particular, that was the reason I asked him the particular question. He's gonna go down to everybody,
Right.
because some of them sitting off to the center.
And them and those others can't afford it either, but that's where the money needs to be put in place where they can go down, is what I'm saying. Got a motion by Mr. Peterson to adjourn, can I get a second? Second, Dr. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Night, everybody.